Hello, weird friends, and welcome to Wyrd Awakenings. Hope everyone's doing good tonight. Don't forget to like us, follow us, let us know what you like, let us know what you'd like to hear. And you can find us at weirdrealities.net. That is weird with a Y. And you can find us on Linktree, linktr.ee/weirdrealities. All right, tonight we are talking about ley lines. They crisscross around the globe and they're dotted with monuments and landforms. They carry within them rivers of earth energy. A lot of times where you find these monuments are places that the lines will cross, and these are pockets of amassed concentrated energy that can be harnessed by those who know the secrets of doing that. Along the ley lines, there are sites such as the Great Pyramid of Giza, Chichen Itza, Stonehenge. What did these ancients know that escape us today? Because a lot of people like for it to sound like it was all just coincidental, that so many things are naturally or are built along ley lines, but that just doesn't make sense. What do you guys think?
I think the ancients were probably drawn to these places, and I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, I guess, how they could have, because these have been around for thousands of years, right?
Yes.
So I'll throw out the first theory: mushrooms.
Mushrooms. Mushrooms let them see the little glowing line that went straight across the plane to the other side of the flat Earth.
Well, I mean, you know how like the Vikings and other like ancient like civilizations used to take mushrooms for like spirit journeys and stuff, or otherworldly visions. Like maybe something like that led them to, which in general, I would go as far to say is ancient civilizations and like even the Native Americans here were a lot more spiritual than people are today.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And I agree with that too. And I mean, it's kind of like, with the ayahuasca, like a lot of them use today, that it puts them into that state of mind so they can see and feel and everything.
Yep.
And I know that, dowsers, a lot of people look for them and find them. And that's a lot of how they did it in ancient times was
I
by
didn't even
dowsing.
think about that.
Yes, and it works just like dowsing for water, which is scientifically proven to work.
That dowsing is probably one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed.
Yep.
Like just the concept of that alone should like, which again, a lot of people don't believe in that either, even though it has been thoroughly studied.
Oh yeah,
Well,
look, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
When we live outside of the realm of city water, so we had to have a well dug and everything, and they actually used dowsing to find the spot that they thought the best place to dig was.
Really?
And I had not. I mean, I remembered my grandmother talking about it when I was a kid. She used to live up in the Ozarks, and we would go get spring water and stuff, and she'd be out in the woods talking about how you douse for water and everything, But when you're a kid, you don't always listen to that kind of stuff and go, "Oh yeah, sure, Grandma, tell me about that." But then, as an adult, seeing someone actually use that and everything was really fascinating. I thought
What
that
is
was
it?
cool.
What is it called when they do that? Because it's like a water witch or something.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I don't think the guy who did it called himself that, but yes, that's what I've always heard it referred to as.
Our co-host on Wearing the Folk Read, he is a water witch.
Oh, cool.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
and I'm another co-host.
Yeah, he can do that stuff. He can like take the dowsing rods and find water and stuff like that.
Yep.
Well, that's really cool.
I've always said I wanted to try it because I have got so much water. I am a Cancer with Cancer rising, and out of my 13 houses, like 7 of them are water signs. So yeah, I mean, I've always said I've got just enough dirt, earth to make mud, and just enough fire to make steam, but I've got enough air and water to make a damn hurricane. So it's crazy, the how well I fit that. But so like I said, I've always thought about trying it just to see. if I, went with that intuition, how well it would work.
Well, don't they use dowsing, which, maybe I'm just getting the rods confused, but don't they use some form of those rods for spiritual energy too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they cross, it means yes. If they spread apart, it means no. It's
Yes.
kind of like the Ouija board aspect of it. And the
Mhm.
reason you never heard Reed talk about that toy is because that was pillow talk. That was just between me and him.
Get out of here.
It's one night when the bears were sleeping in the cave.
It happens. It happens. So yeah, I'm right there with you though. In the, like I said, it's been around. I mean, that's how people did things back then. Even if you watch a lot of these shows on like the History Channel and things like that, where people are like building in Alaska and stuff like that, they still use dowsing primarily as the way to find their water sources. So, like I said, that many people across that many centuries can't be wrong, and like I said, it's the fact that I've seen it happen is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
So how do you
that's
think that ties
crazy.
into the ley lines? Like, is it part of the energy of it?
Well, I think before we even get into the energy, maybe so we know that ley lines are literally fault lines that run across the planet.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if maybe there's definitely a magnetic aspect to all of this, like an energy and magnetic aspect. Because even in more recent history, our good buddy Tesla was a part of, uh, I guess, this greater. It's not even. I wouldn't even call this a conspiracy. Just these theories. Um, I'm pretty sure one of Tesla's labs was on the ley line intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
More than likely.
Right. Well, and that's like a lot of people really do. I mean, because you've got, like I said, you've got the science people that are going to try to be more logical. Then you've got the people in between, and then you've got us, I guess. But they, where was I going with that? All right, guys, totally went off the rails there. It'll come back to me.
I don't think that. Like I'm sure we'll take it all the way back, but I'll say this: in addition to Tesla, I don't think that it's a coincidence that the Vatican, as well as like the DC capital here in America, are also on ley lines.
Yes, yes. And that's a thing too. And you notice if you've ever gone and like looked up, it's hard to find the old maps because they used to have a lot of old maps with areas where there were ley lines and stuff.
Yep.
A lot of the ones you find now are these perfect symmetrical. I mean, and I don't personally feel that that's how it is. I mean, I feel like you've got the major ones that probably are, but I feel like it's more like rivers. That it follows the path of least resistance.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that after last week's episode. I had seen a video where this guy had found a paperweight.
Mm-hmm.
I may have even sent it to you. But he found a paperweight with ley lines and Tartaria and everything else on it.
You did.
And even the proportions of the maps that we see today are grossly misproportionate. Like the size of Africa compared to North and South America.
Yes.
Completely off the rails.
Yes, it is. So like I said, that I've always kind of found that interesting. Like I said, when I see these pictures of these perfect, little lines that it's like we're cut into a pizza almost.
Yeah.
And it's like
I think they do that on purpose.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's because the best way to keep people from utilizing things that are good for them is to make sure that they can't access them.
And it's crazy how all this keeps tying back into the World's Fairs that we're going to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that Cecil had brought up were these pools that weren't those pools on the ley line, Cecil?
Oh, you're talking about the pink and white terrace?
Yeah.
And in New Zealand, I'm pretty confident they were on the ley lines.
But
the ley lines is something that I've not really researched in a long time, and when I did do it, I kind of overlooked it. Um, what does fairies have to do with the ley lines? They're saying that these fairies took the paths of the ley line. Are we there yet? I'm researching as the show goes.
Hey, I've been guilty of that myself more than once, so nothing wrong with that.
That's how true
Well, I mean, I really think that it's just like with any other being that is open or whatever, they feel these, energies that we've been taught as from children that if you do feel or see it, that's your imagination. But when you've got a being that's more, I'm not going to say like, because there's some mean little fuckers out there. I'm sorry, there's some mean people out there, but they're open. Like I said, they don't have the limitations that we put on ourselves or that we were taught. So I think that they're more naturally drawn. Just like the same way some people can see and feel things that other people can't, it's because they're open to it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, didn't we got into fairies a little bit with Elizabeth from Iceland?
Okay,
And
I remember listening to that one.
yeah, so there's a place in Iceland. It's a mountain. It's like a we'll say a mysterious mountain,
Hmm.
and they've tried like 5 or more times to build a road through this mountain, and it's been unsuccessful. And the locals say that there are fairies, or what would be I'm sure there's a different word for it, but what would be the equivalent of fairies that guard the mountain?
It could be guardians. They're actually guardian, and they can really be any form. I mean, they can look like whatever you expect them to look like, but it's almost like a guardian spirit, a protector. So, they may be, spirits of that particular mountain, and they just don't want people in their stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of them. I saw the fairy thing, and then I saw where a lot of cultures used the ley lines as kind of a road of death,
Hmm.
or like death's journey, we'll say. And what really struck me about that was the fact that like Solomon's Temple and can you guys still hear me?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
This light keeps going off on my mic, so I thought my mic was cutting out. So
Okay.
so the Aztec pyramids specifically, like you think about the level of sacrifice that happened there,
Hmm.
and they did these sacrifices with an intention to do something, and it could be something as simple as rain or prosperity, and these people believe that this stuff works for a reason. I mean, I think it would be hard to have like some kind of mass psychosis of people thinking that if they sacrifice somebody, that it was just going to be for nothing.
Right.
Like, I feel like people back then would have even been smart enough to know that.
Yeah.
I always heard they did it for corn harvest. Is that right?
Well, I know that a lot of times, like South American natives, if they had a problem like with the crop coming in or anything like that, they would do the different rituals and stuff and sacrifices to try to appease the gods or
Next time you
like
come
that.
down here, Tully, we want to see if that helped my grass grow.
Good luck.
And that's one thing we should get into sometime. Maybe if we can talk about it without getting banned off everything is Molech.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of sacrifices, a lot of reasons for sacrifice around Molech and the old gods.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's on my list. And I noticed you didn't take it off.
I didn't take it off because I think we could get into it without getting into
Too awful much trouble?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We can try that. But
So when it comes down to it, like, do you think that these ley lines were where? So basically, like, you can take one ancient structure and take a line that goes across the plane into another part of the world, and there's another ancient structure, and then so on and so forth. Like, do you think that they would have used like the dowsing rods to be like, we need to build right here across that
I do.
complete ley line?
I really do. I think that a lot of times that was the case because, like I said, why build there? Where all of this potential is without knowing. And you would have to do something in order to find that, unless you were just naturally drawn to that energy. And,
Yeah.
And I hate to be this way, but I really don't think Pope John the 23rd was that guy. So, I feel like that, but I feel like he knew enough to have someone in there that could do it.
Yep. I think this is a good point for me to kick the door open.
Go right ahead.
CERN is on the ley line.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I can see that. If everything else is connected, why wouldn't they put the doomsday machine right there on the ley line?
Right. I mean, like I said, it never crossed my mind, but I mean, it does make complete sense that they would do so. But
Look at
you know,
Tully talking away. Completely muted.
One day we'll get over
One
there.
day. I would truly love to just have, because that's kind of why I've been looking for the last couple of days when I was able to do a little bit of research, was everything that was connected, like the structures that were connected, because that's what fascinates me the most.
Mhm.
And it's just the exact same way with, why there's similar structures on one continent to another one, when back in the day nobody could actually get to that continent to share ideals.
Right.
It's
Well, so if it works one way, it probably works in reverse. So if you think about like why people would build these giant like football stadiums and everything else in the ley line, like think about like the Super Bowl, for instance, like how much energy and emotion is being generated by that many people in that event. Like maybe there's some way to lend energy into it so that something else can boost the energy off, like CERN, for instance. Like CERN hasn't been able to operate in years because of how much it takes to even fire that thing.
Yeah,
That
and
opens up so much.
the idea of groups of people like that too, like producing. I think groups of people producing energy, like if I'm sitting at the house getting drunk, I just sit on the couch. But if I've got 4 or 5 friends over, we're up throwing eggs against the wall or something, having a good time. So it's kind of like energy builds, the more people that are around. Like where you said the Super Bowl, it's quite possible that like they could choose to put those on ley lines so that the reptilian government or whoever or the reptilians can suck all the luge out of it.
That's possible. Because you also have all of the negative emotion from the people who lose, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I'm going to go down this whole totally, you know us, we can't stay in the same spot. Ghostbusters. Remember when they were talking about in the second one, they put the goo, and if you got the negative reaction, then everything started going bad, and then the positive, people singing and everything and pulling together, it sends out good energy. So I mean, it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Well, do you know that his father, Dan Aykroyd's father, was a real life Ghostbuster? Was a parapsychologist. Yes, and about 80% of the information and stuff that they used in that movie was from his father's research.
Isn't Dan Aykroyd like? Didn't he try to debunk a bunch of it after he got old enough?
He did go into some of it to debunk, and he did debunk some stuff, but he also proved some stuff too. That's like, he's the creator of Crystal Head Vodka.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he is. And he actually, if you ever get the chance to look it up, he actually talks about the process and the metaphysical properties of Herkimer diamonds. It's triple distilled through Herkimer diamonds. And, you know, I mean, it's just this whole big thing. It's cool as shit.
No, it sounds
Dan
crazy.
Dan Aykroyd is actually a pretty wild character. Like he's had UFO encounters. I think he's a true believer, but he kind of set out to do kind of like what Houdini did, you know, like try to prove it true by weeding out all the false.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
And he's damn
yeah.
good in that movie. What is that movie called? Nothing But Trouble. Have you ever watched that?
I haven't.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's a good movie. You should watch that. It's got Chevy Chase, and they get lost in rural Pennsylvania, and he's the judge. It's got Bob
Okay, put that on my list. So yeah, you know, it makes sense to put large, you know, like say stadiums and that kind of stuff on those power centers, because why not harness all of that energy, whether it's good or bad?
Yeah.
You know, because it's either one works. It just depends on what you want to do with it.
Yeah. Even Mecca. Like
Mhm.
you think about the pilgrimage to Mecca.
Yep.
But I guess a more weird thought is probably who's tapping the energy and why. Because, you know, CERN just started in the last 10 years.
Mhm.
So who was using all this energy and for what before CERN?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and you know that somebody's passed this information around. Like I said, you know, like I said, we know that they've got stuff stockpiled all over the place that we would just die to get, you know, a day in some of these places. But like I said, you know, because they have control of it, they have the power over it, then they're the ones that have the ability to do what they want with it. And they're not going to tell the general public, oh, you know, here's what we're doing. Because, you know, then the rest of us might, you know, have as good of a chance as they do.
Have you ever thought like how much better it might have felt? Well, like I know people died younger and stuff before this, but do you think that there might have been like a different feel to the earth before all this electric was everywhere? Like,
oh, absolutely.
That's a possibility too with these ley lines. Like on why these structures are built there, they could have not even used Allen rods. They could just felt it.
Yeah.
Like this feels different in this spot. You know what I mean?
You know, I can remember even as a kid, you know, we never stayed in the house, you know, when we were kids. We were always outside. Okay, I grew up in rural Mississippi. We were always barefoot, so you were always in contact with the earth.
Yeah.
You know, and we loved it out there. You know, I mean, it just, of course, we had no other options, but I mean, you know, it was just a part of who you were. You know, you were always outside because it was good for you to be outside. You know, I can remember my dad saying that 100 times, get out in the yard, it's good for you.
Maybe that's how we end up turning out differently, like as far as how we think.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't allowed to go in the house. Like, if you want something to drink, there's like get out of the water hose there. Like,
yes.
I remember distinctly every spring whenever I would get out and start, you know, playing, how I was always angry that my feet would be sensitive to the gravel road.
Yeah.
And by the end of the summer, I could run on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I can remember running on hot pavement.
Yeah.
As a kid, you know, and not even giving it a second thought. I can't walk to my mailbox without shoes now. I mean, you know, it's just like, oh my God, what happened? So
I still don't wear shoes. I went to the store the other day with shoes on, and people were looking at me weird. I just forgot to wear them.
Hey, you know, I used to be that way until I, you know, moved into the city back years ago, and it's like, yeah, people look at you different.
I'm starting to get back. I moved to the city too, but like last summer, I started trying to pick back up fishing, which is neither here or there.
I thought you were going to
But-
say drinking. Like, oh yeah, you never quit.
Well, yeah, never quit that. But
I'm going to try to pick back up drinking real heavy.
but even like while I was fishing, I made it a point to kick my shoes off and just have my feet in the grass, because like if you think about it, and it's really strange that our feet really never touch the earth in the city anymore,
No.
because you're always in your house or you're on blacktop or you're on concrete. So it's a rare
dangerous.
thing. You know, people may take a week to the beach and do that once a year or something.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
dangerous to walk around without shoes on in the country. Now you step on a damn needle or something.
Well,
It's true.
oh yeah, it's definitely. I mean, that's we've got a spot next to us that we, definitely put on hiking boots and stuff just to walk in the woods, because, people used to dump their junk there because it was an empty lot.
Yep.
And of course, no respect at all, but that's beside the point.
I found one laying inside my driveway the other day.
Wow. That's
What?
crazy.
I found a needle laying in my driveway the other day. I was like, what the hell?
See, and
Oh,
this
that
is why I really don't have any problem with the thought of shunning society. It's just,
All we can hope
Yeah.
for is a zombie apocalypse and that we survive it.
Hey, I had someone ask me a couple of years ago. He said something about being on somebody's shit list. I said, I don't have a shit list. He says, how can you not have a shit list? I said, I traded it in for a bait list. He said, what the hell is a bait list? I said, when the zombies come, you're the fucker we're going to break your leg and throw out so we can get away. He goes, that is so wrong. I'm like, I'm just telling you, don't make my bait list. So, and sadly, I know a lot of people that grew up the same way we did and everything that will not survive because they have forgotten everything they were ever taught, everything they grew up seeing as far, and like gardening. I hated having to work in the garden when I was a kid. And, and Daddy made us, every one of us, we got out there and we, hoed peas and picked potatoes and the whole 9 yards. And it took me getting away from that to realize, how much healthier we were, how much better we felt. And he made it into like a family time. So, I mean, now, we've got a greenhouse. I've got stuff planted all over the place. Now I'm talking about hoarding food too. So,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to get away from it a little bit to realize how much it actually matters.
It reminds me of something my dad told me, because it's a pretty common thing for people to move from our hometown to Cincinnati to make money, because it's really the closest, largest city
Right.
to come and make money. But he said that people move up here, spend their whole lives making money, and spend the rest of their lives trying to get back to the mountains.
Yep. I could see that. Like I said, I will never move back to my hometown because there's just nothing there, to offer me or mine. But there are things about it I do miss, because
Same.
because it is out in the middle of nowhere. We've got McDonald's, a couple of other food places, but it is by no means a metropolis or even most people wouldn't even call it a city. It's a small town. But like I said, we went outside when the sun came up in the summer and we came home when the sun went down. My mother wouldn't think twice to walk out on the front porch and yell, and us, 2 miles away in the woods, hear her echoing through, and then, okay, we got to go home. Mama's calling and everything. So, I hate that my kids did not have that, but by the time they got to that age, that really didn't exist anymore because that's when the drugs had started coming in and, all of that. So as much as I don't necessarily love some of the stuff about where I even live now, at least I always, could count on them having other things besides drugs to do.
Right.
You know, unless you were super big into church. Now, if you were super big into church, the only thing that outnumbered liquor stores in our town were churches.
See, it's similar, except it's pharmacies in our hometown.
You need to be a drug addict or a hypocrite. You choose.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Shoot.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. So, and sadly, a lot of them are both.
Have you ever seen, and this is way off topic, but have you ever seen Soft Twat Underbelly on YouTube?
No, I don't think I have.
It's this guy that goes around the country interviewing, sometimes it's like people who prostitute for a living, or drug dealers, or sometimes he interviews people who just got out of prison, or white supremacists, just to get like points of view from people.
Uh-huh.
And one of his stops was in our hometown. He interviewed a few people, but it started this huge controversy about a preacher there that we all knew. Like, everybody in the town knew that this guy diddled kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of this unspoken thing until this YouTube channel completely blew it up. I mean, there was like...
Well, good for them.
Yeah, it was awesome. But...
Well, I'm not condoning it at all, what he did, but everybody knew about it. Like,
well, that's what I was going to say. That's the other thing too. You've got to hold people accountable. It's the same thing. With the Catholic Church, all those decades and decades. They're just as responsible for every minister that ever touched a child. But,
well, let's be honest. The Catholic Church has been complicated.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that guy though when I was like 13, and I'm like, I don't even know, like 36, somewhere between 35 and 38 right now. So
yeah, everybody. I mean, it was almost like a joke at that point, because I always remember people would say that they would go to the preacher, the head of the church, and he would just shrug it off, because it was like the church in the county, like where all the politicians went.
Right. That's insane.
And it happens to be built on a ley line.
Yeah. So good segue back into our subject there. So, all right. Now, the word ley lines was actually never used until the 20s. There was, some guy, I forget what his name was now, but anyway, he was an archaeologist or something, and just started making observations about all of these famous sites that had been built along these lines. And then he started mapping stuff out, and if it were just the man-made structures, then the naysayers would make more sense. But it's also all of these natural, places that they tend to crop up along the ley lines. So it's really, it was, oh crap, I'm trying to remember where it was. It was like from somewhere in Ireland all the way to Israel. There's like a straight line of all of these places with the name Michael in them.
Really?
That are all one ley line. Yeah. It's
That's
like Mont Saint Michel in France is on it. St. Michael's in Great Britain. I mean, but yeah, it's like a whole line of stuff that were built back, like say, in the 1400s, when people didn't have, the same access to information to know, oh, this is the place we need to build this because it lines up with, the place up the road.
Yeah, even if you didn't know the place up the road, it'd be extremely difficult to map out how to get it to line up right.
Exactly. I mean, and this is like almost a perfect line.
Well,
I mean,
I fully believe that we've been lied to about history prior to 1900.
Yes.
I think they've been leeching off this energy for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
and probably like we always talk about the Great Flood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking prior to Great Flood, they were probably using all of this stuff for like world energy. Because
It's
and
almost
I'm sure
guaranteed. It's almost
I'm
guaranteed
sure
that
you
the
read this
people-
too, but in places where two ley lines cross, there's usually a big ass obelisk,
Mm-hmm.
like the Washington Monuments on one,
Mm-hmm.
where it's a cross. There's a one in Central Park, one in the Vatican courtyard, and all of them are where ley lines cross. And I think those have probably bled over from pre-flood.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that they're using that as markers for the people that are in the know?
Probably. Did you read about the Pope's trip in 2015 to America?
No, I don't think I did.
So, and I'm gonna read it so that I don't have to paraphrase. But so there was a blood moon on September 28th, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
The Pope comes to the United States. He gives a speech at the Capitol, where Washington Monument is.
Right.
Then he goes to New York, and then he goes to Cleopatra's Needle in Central Park, which is an obelisk. And then he ended his trip at the Liberty Bell, and the Liberty Bell is also in a key ley line point. So people think that there was some kind of energy pilgrimage, we'll call it, that he was making whenever he made that trip. And I don't know, maybe we should do a whole episode on the Vatican sometime, because some of the stuff there is just absolutely crazy. I don't know if you guys noticed the I don't even know what it's called. It's a building that they have where it looks like there's a serpent from the place where they're talking from.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Cecil?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'd love to get into the archives of the Vatican once.
Just once, yeah.
Just
Morgana says that out literally every day.
with
Yeah, the Vatican is actually number 11 on my list. So I'm going to send you a list this weekend of the next, throughout, and you can yay or nay or say, hell no, we're not doing that, or whatever you want to do. But
sounds good.
Yeah. And like I said, we definitely fluid with it. If we can get somebody in here for some of it, then we can move some stuff around and everything.
What are you trying to get kicked off of? And
Well, that's what we were talking about the other day. I only have the honor of saying I have been kicked off of our governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and one of our senators' sites. And I was not even being a jackass. I was just making statements. No, not being a smart ass or anything, saying, well, what do you mean by this? Shouldn't you have done that? And bloop, you can no longer post. Like, damn. Yeah. That's
They
one feather in my cap.
The world we live in right now, we have to be extremely careful to say anything. Like, a lot of times before we even come on these, like I said many times, Tully's like, don't say this, don't say that, don't do this, don't say fuck or nothing like that. And so I have to mind my P's and Q's, because if I get fired up, I'll start going off on a rampage. So
yeah.
So if you want to kick off,
a very good job trying to keep me alive.
Yeah, because look,
if you guys want to get kicked off on something, let's do Vatican, and we'll get kicked off.
we're going to do the Vatican, but not in that way, we'll say.
Yeah, we would just like to have a conversation about what we think might be in the Vatican archives. Yeah.
But it's like I was telling her, we could go in deep, but although all those other sites are great for conspiracies and otherworldly conversations, Rumble and BitChute might not be the best place for authors to try to promote their books.
Right.
We'll take all that stuff over to Where in the Folk, because we don't give a fuck.
We can move those 3 things over to Where in the Folks, and we'll have you on.
Okay, that'll work. your
My
repertoire.
the apology letter we send to YouTube would be me with middle fingers up.
Yep.
But
So,
ley lines.
ley lines.
The guy that came up with it was Alfred Watkins in the
Okay.
1920s. He's the one that observed it. He was a antiquarian.
Mhm.
He studied
Antiquarian.
antiquity.
Okay.
Yeah.
That almost sounded like an old Aryan brotherhood there for a second.
An antique Aryan.
Yep.
He's an
I had to
antiquarian.
listen for a second.
He was an antiquarian from the Himalayas. That's where the Nazis spent all that money trying to find inner Earth.
No, like
You know
when what's his name? Indiana Jones and the one with with Sean Connery in it, the old guy that was guarding the cup. He was an antiquarian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Antiquarian. Antiquarian. That's a funny word. Antiquarian.
Sometimes I think it's healthy to question everything, but some people, like I see some conspiracies sometimes, and I'm just like, man, like that's a little bit of a stretch. Like I saw one today where there's a lot of people apparently believe that Walt Disney was Adolf Hitler.
No, they were just good buddies.
That's very possible. But yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, I don't think he's quite. They don't look a thing alike.
Yeah, I think they tried hard to pull angles that look similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not there.
No. And there are, like I said, there are some that, I'll be sitting there going, oh my God, wow, really? And then, like you say, the next one, I'm like, are you that stupid? And I'm like, somebody's saying that about me too, and I understand that. But.
Oh, yeah. Like normal people.
Yeah.
Normal people.
I know someone that's from Normal, Illinois. Does that count?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're good.
Yeah, actually, for the first time ever, today I was wearing a tinfoil hat, hoodie, and this guy stopped me and was like, "Man, I really love that." And I'm just like, "Well, I know that I'm not the only crazy person in here that, you know what I mean?"
Exactly. Okay. Ley lines in the United States, besides at places that, like I said, the Washington Monument, stuff like that, natural places. Do you think that the mounds, say we're the mound builders, like that, the Pueblo Indians, the places that are abandoned now, why build there in the first place unless there was something that drew them to it?
Yeah, for sure. And even I'm pretty sure the Easter Island statues are on a ley line too.
Mm-hmm.
And they were completely isolated.
Yes, they were.
There is one good theory about ley lines, which it kind of ties into what Tully was talking about, like these monoliths being like the antennas, basically. But like they feel like those are to boost the energy to continue to carry it along the ley line, kind of like an electric pole.
Oh,
like electric wire to electric pole.
Like it just keeps firing it around the planet.
Yeah. Give it more reach.
Here's an even deeper question, which we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but it's like, who came along? So even if people could feel this, who taught them how to control it? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? Like if I saw a vibration out in the yard, I'm not going to know to just go build an obelisk to contain its power or whatever, No,
and I agree with you, because I can walk outside. Like I said, if I walk outside barefooted and there aren't guns going off up the street and stuff like that, on regular days, I mean, I can feel, that vibration underfoot. But no, I would never know to go and set something up to try to pull that more to me.
Well, and think about how much more we know. Okay, let's say we brought in a group of people from 1920.
Mhm.
And so we bring in 3 of them and 3 of us. We could explain to them the concept. Like, we know everything about this world as far as tech. Like, we could say, okay, yeah, there's a computer screen. Here's how it works. It's backlit by LED, driven by electricity. And the person from 1920 says, okay, could you come back to 1920 and recreate this for us?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
No.
Like, your average person just doesn't know.
That's correct.
And like, and it's possible, like the people, like the technology that you're talking about, that this might be like what was just brought up. It's quite possible Tesla probably tapped into that. He probably knew something about it. It's the way that he carried energy.
Right.
Huh.
Well, like I said,
So that's pretty.
you've got people that are in tune, and obviously he was just looking at, the things he's done and everything, the concepts he came up with, that the average person was just like, that, because, he was really put forth in a lot of ways. And I know it was to undermine him and everything like that, he was about half crackpot too. But
sometimes you got to be to make things happen.
It's the crazy ones. Exactly. So, I definitely think he was tapped into that.
So Disneyland's is built onto one of these. Do you think that they might be building like places like Disneyland on it to save on like their electric bill? I wonder what their electric bill is.
Well, it goes back to
what if
what we were talking about.
Electric $40.
So we were talking about. I know you mentioned Loosh earlier, but you have these places of extreme emotions too, like ball stadiums or military bases or
battlefields,
Disneyland. Even spirituality in itself is high energy, and you think about all the temples and
churches
and the Vatican and ritualistic places and Mecca, like it's all energy. And the places that we built on top of it, more times than not, sound almost like an energy input than an energy output.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a storage unit, basically, is what you're saying.
What would be crazy, absolutely crazy, is if Hollow Earth was real and as above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
And we were putting the energy in, and Hollow Earth was taking the energy out.
So we're lighting Hollow Earth. So the glow that keeps Hollow Earth alive is our energy, man.
I don't know.
Is that what you're saying?
That's Dave's. Cool. That's Dave's crazy conspiracy theory for the day.
That's another thing too. Off down another hole. That kind of energy and everything. An addiction almost. You've got all of this energy. You've got all of these people here. They're building it up because people that are Disney people go back over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the draw is that if that's a big enough power reserve.
Same with sports, right?
Yep.
It really is. Yep. Like people are addicted to that stuff. Like I've been to Disneyland before and it sucked. Like I hated every second of it. And I was a kid. Like they's like, go get your picture with Mickey. I was like, fuck Mickey. Like, I won't go Gatorland, son.
Gatorland, get out of here, man.
Gatorland's awful.
I never wanted to go to Gatorland either. I don't like people and places that are packed with people. I hate to shop. Okay. I realize that is not normal for most females. I cannot stand the mall. The only time I can tolerate shopping is like a small shop, like a crystal shop. Oh, I can stand there all day, but I think it's that energy from the crystals are offsetting people. But I can do like a flea market, something that's open air, because then, I don't feel like I'm suffocating under all this humanity.
I understand that.
So yes, Disney World is not a place I will ever voluntarily set foot because I would be in jail by the time I was done. I'd kill somebody.
They got their own jail.
Do they?
Yeah,
They'll let
they
you
got
stay
their
there
own
for
jail.
longer, but I don't know. Staying in Disney World would probably be as bad or worse than prison.
I don't know if they do, but could you imagine if they did, like, make you be the judge and like the jury would be like fucking Donald Duck, goofy and shit.
Yeah, uh,
We
I
sentence
just
you
don't
to life.
know. Just don't know.
And when you get
Yeah.
sentenced to life, you have to stay on that. It's a wonderful world ride or whatever with the little kids.
Or no, or you just have to sit there and listen to "It's a Small World" over and
Yeah.
over and over again. That's your
Well,
punishment for
You know,
life.
Disneyland does have that 33 club there too,
Yeah,
Do
it
they?
does. Yeah,
which is like
it's
the 33-degree Mason.
Hmm.
yeah.
Now, if they would close the park down and just let me and a few of my friends come in, I'd like to see the Avatar thing or something like that, just to see, but not enough to deal with people.
Yeah,
It's
and
my poor
and
kids.
life,
They probably hate me because they were deprived of Disney World. But hey, I took them to the mountains. Let's do Gatlinburg and stuff
and you
like
want to know
that.
I'm
something?
happy
You want to
that
know
I never
something?
went to Disneyland.
You want to know something that's interesting about the Club 33?
So,
Was it Club 33
I think that's
or
what it's
32?
called. It's
Do you
33
know
for
that?
sure.
Do you know the ley line that Disneyland sits on? Latitude 33.
What?
Yeah, I'm not shitting you. It's the nexus point.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I thought it was the 33 club because of like 33 degree Masons,
Yeah.
or 33rd degree Masons are maybe that has to do, like, their organizational structure has to do with ley lines or something.
No, I do remember that about it because I always thought that was weird. And when you brought up that club, I was like, oh, yeah, it sits on latitude 33.
okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We're figuring stuff out.
Huh?
We figured shits out.
Speaking of Gatorland, I read today that they're about to release like 1 million genetically altered mosquitoes in the Everglades today. And I told
They've
Cecil,
been doing that shit for friggin' 30, 40 years.
that's the equivalent of releasing hippos to solve your alligator problem.
That's to make real mosquitoes sterile, right? Is that the one
Yeah.
I'm thinking about? That couldn't go.
Something to that
It's kind of like
effect.
killer bees. Do you really want to?
Or the
Well,
massive spiders that are supposed to fall out of the sky this year.
Oh, I'm going to choke you over that one. If I have a dream about that, me and you are going to have a problem. I have very few fears. Spiders is it.
gnomes
Um,
are
hey,
mine, and our co-host Reed got my wife a gnome for Christmas.
well, my fixing to be ex-daughter-in-law has a fear of the weeping angels from Doctor Who. And I'm like, ooh, I've got some earrings. Want to borrow one? I don't know if you're familiar with Doctor Who, but yeah, there's this anytime you see an angel with their face over their hands over their face and they're crying, they are dimensional travelers. And if you turn your back on them, they advance closer to you. So you can't blink or anything like that. And if they touch you while they're in that active stage, they take the rest of your years and live in this world and send you somewhere else in time. And she is freaked out by that. So,
See, I do kind of have a fear, not of those angels specifically, but anytime I see a short horror film or something where it's based like, if you take your eyes off something, something happens until you look back at it, that kind of freaks me out.
yeah, and that's definitely what it does. Because, like I said, you'll be standing there and you'll turn around and they'll be closer to you and moved just a little bit. And then you turn around, and when you finally do see, they've got these fangs and they've got their hands up in the air. So they're not. And then it's funny because there's an episode, total spoilers here, that they're in New York City in the 30s, and the Statue of Liberty is actually a weeping angel, and it shows her claws and stuff. So, but yeah, it was cool.
I need to start watching that show. That's crazy. That's
I
terrifying.
love Doctor Who. I mean, it's got some wanky ones that you're just like, where the hell did they come up with this? But it's I've always enjoyed it.
Do you have to watch them
actually
all?
been filmed, like,
I did
It's
not
been
watch
like
all the old ones, like from the 50s and 60s and stuff. I just couldn't get into them. I started watching them in like the late 90s, something like that, when the more modern ones, those were the ones I could follow along with. It was like the ones with David Tennant and Matt Smith and that group. But those real old ones I just couldn't get into. I think the technology was just a little old, you know, to look at as realistic or anything. But you don't have to watch them. I mean, they do have some that continue from one to the other, but you can watch standalone episodes. But
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
I'll have to look into that.
I highly recommend.
I'm always
course
looking for new stuff to watch.
I've got a list so long I'll never get it all watched. It's like my book list.
I hear his telephone booth sits on a ley line too.
Hmm? His booth goes on.
I found this telephone booth. It's on Ley Line.
Yep.
In all honesty, like,
it has a ley line inside of it.
what if it's the telephone booth from Bill and Ted? The one that's got their energy.
I think you're onto something.
Bigger on the inside. Yeah, it's bigger than Bill and Ted's. A lot bigger. Okay, ley lines. So, all right. Like I say, the concept that there are people that can sense things. You know, we all agree that there are those people out there. If you could somehow figure out a way to get some of these people to get their heads together and, you know, try harnessing the things that they could probably do would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, think about how many.
If somebody figured out how to harness it, they would be suicided more than likely if it was their own person.
Well, if nothing else, if you could be subtle enough about it and make small changes, you know, at least to the things around you.
I think people do microdose energy from those places, because think about like how people go to Mecca and talk about this profound, crazy spiritual experience that they had. It could just be that you're in a place that's, you know, vibrating with that energy that's just nothing like your body and soul have felt since you've been in this world.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, you know, I would think that even, you know, just like say getting out to nature when you've been away from it for so long, like I said, you know, you getting back into fishing, because I'm not that person who can sit and meditate, you know, just sit quiet and clear my mind. I've got too much going on, but I can go out and paint or something like that, and I go into my own world. So, you know, I feel like that could easily, you know, kind of work the same way. You know, it's that renewing.
Yeah.
You know, you're out in nature and everything like that. And you get that renewal because there's so much energy around you. The regular natural energy, but like I said, you know, I feel like ley lines are crisscrossing and doing like rivers and everything, not straight lines. So I think that you're always within a certain distance of one. It may not be a really active one or a really, you know, big one, but that they're all over. You know, just like you've got creeks and rivers and, you know, different sizes, as it were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a good comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I think that the same thing with like you douse for water, I think you can douse for ley lines. You know, if you do the research to figure out how to do it, if you can pick up those vibrations from it and everything. Because I would think that they were similar in how they run and everything, because water underground is also energy.
That's true.
You know, why could they not share some of that space?
That's true.
I'm on board with that.
Okay.
Makes you go,
I'm on board with that.
Hey, if you go one time, mission accomplished.
Yep. For everybody listening, let us know what you think of Ley Lines and what they
Ley
do.
lines. Ley lines. Ley
Not
lines.
Cecil's Ley Lines.
Not Cecil Ley line. I thought ley line was whenever you're laying on the couch shirtless and you get up and you got like the imprint of the cushion in your memory foam skin. You know what I mean? Don't you ever have that?
Wrong
happen?
one.
As I said, not Cecil's Ley Lines. Yes, definitely. I mean, I'd like, opinions too, because I mean, like I said, we're just giving our opinion out there, and you may have something that we have totally not thought of or that we've just totally overlooked. So definitely share. We are at Wyrd Realities on Facebook, and you can find us on Linktree at linktr.ee. Wyrd Realities with a Y. Guys, what have y'all got coming up?
We are all good.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think that we are all going to be on a big hootenanny coming up about the World's Fairs. But before that, I believe that Cecil is about to release past content.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, content that never got to make it to air, basically. We got some where we're covering some outlaws from the olden days, and I've got one with a very special one with my little nephew that won't be releasing before we get into the new content and the new structure of the show.
Awesome. That's cool. Because that's what I used to do is listen to you guys at work the morning after you posted. And I mean, I'm sitting over there, at my desk with my earbuds on, just rolling, and everybody's looking at me like, "What the hell is she doing?"
It gets crazy sometimes.
It gets a little weird sometimes.
Especially when
I'm always entertained though, and I always learn something new.
Especially when we talk about Lake Lanier, it kind of goes into the ditch.
It went south.
It happens. It happens.
There was a new term that came from it called pump and pill, which we could not get through a damn sentence because of it.
Yeah, these people stole gas from a gas station and crashed into the lake. Yeah, that's kind of
like
how
they took off straight across the road and went straight into the river. And when I was explaining how it happened, Reed went, they pump and peeled, and for some reason nobody could hold their shit together.
Yep, I could see that. All right, guys. Well, I certainly appreciate you being here. Look forward to doing it again. And as I said, look us up on weirdrealities.net, and we'll see you next time.